Right.
And it was hard attack.
Collins volleyball coaches would tell them something like if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, no, so not
Right. But right now, he would say that you're late.
Yeah, you might as well turn around and leave.
Yeah, right.
With ID, they are absolutely right. Hey, Tom, before you start, did you talk to Varun about being available next month? Or a public hearing, because they are gonna be here for that.
We did at our meeting a month ago, but I'll confirm with that. I mean, that, because it almost seemed like one of the reasons they had to wait till June was the way the visa is.
Right.
You come and go, you gotta
Right.
stay away a certain period of time, but I'll definitely
All right.
confirm that.
Saturday.
You just take one more quick look.
No surprise text, like I'm away, stuck in traffic, behind the bus, got a ticket, nothing.
Nope.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Let's call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. And in your packet, you have the meeting minutes from April 10th meeting. Once you get a chance to take a look at those, I'll take a motion to accept them.
So,
Motion by Darlene. Second by Janine. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
You got to go to this meeting.
Okay. All right, also in your packet, we have the meeting minutes for the governance committee. We have a motion to accept those as well. Motion by Kristen,
I'll second.
second by Darlene. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And treasurer's report, Kristen.
All right, taking a look at our balance sheet, we have about 1.7 million in cash, and our savings account interest rate held steady at 9% in April. On the liabilities, you'll see that the accounts payable to GM litigation is back, and that is because the check was never cashed, so it went stale, and just out of overabundance of caution, we put a stop payment on it. And having to reissue it.
Yeah, they were gonna take it and put it into the state controller's unclaimed funds. If we didn't stop payment, I thought, well, we don't want the state to hold it good, so
Right.
we might as well do it. We stopped paying.
Wow.
Interesting.
But
You
it's
guys
only-
are 26 million or 56,000. What's
Yeah.
that?
It's crazy.
So I reached out to Morgan Jones, the IDA's attorney here in application. He's tweeted him a couple times by email, but we don't have any direction or knowledge of what next. So that is sort of our town.
Let's see, the statement of cash.
So it was passed.
All right, on the statement of cash transactions, our total cash tied to our balance sheet at about $1.7 million. We put back into cash the stock payment for GM and $3,800 in interest, with disbursements of $18,700 to get to our ending balance. On our income statement, we only had interest as earnings and expenses of $9,900 for a net loss of $6,000 for the month. And with that, I present the financial statements.
But it's happens now, but it's going to be.
No, it's better than 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got.
motion to accept the financial statements as presented.
I'll make that one.
Motion by Janine, second by Dan, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and then lastly, I present the bills for May for your approval. Let's see, really nothing out of the ordinary, the final billing for the audit to Lumsden and McCormick, and the wildlife permit support for $127,000. The monthly contract with Lockport, Toshiba, and Tom for mileage for total April payments of $6,726 to be paid in May.
Here it is.
Here, you said 127,000.
127.50.
Oh,
It's part of our FAST grant, but like for EFT and some of the northern area where we're done.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion by Kristen to pay the bills,
I'll second.
second by Darlene, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, Kristen. Okay, let's see. All right, moving on. Go to town administrative director's report.
Handful of things. First thing I do, I need approval, as we often typically do, for my attendance at any sort of out of area conference. The New York State EDC annual meeting in Cooperstown is next week, May 21st to 23rd. I would say not to exceed 1,300, even including mileage at both the hotel and the conference is like 500 and some change. It's just those 2 nights at the Lakefront Hotel. I don't ever get anywhere near or side itself. It's not worth it. Well, all the meetings, everything else is theirs. Yeah.
All right, I'll take a motion to approve up to $1,300 for town's trip to the New York State EDC meeting.
Oh,
Motion by Darlene, second by Janine, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We did obviously receive a revised, minimally revised application for financial assistance from CD Plastics. You have a copy in your packet. I would say it's really the dollar value piece, and then there was some schedule issues in terms of, when they would actually be building and so on. But other than that, it really isn't substantive. As much as we have a completed application, we don't yet ask their $1,000 fee, which we did Terry Burton aware of the fact that we need an application fee. We'll let you know when that comes in, and we'll try and confirm everybody's attendance at next month's public hearing.
I think now would be the time to consider a motion for public hearing. So it'd be a motion to call for public hearing, consider financial subdivision package. Or SRIC Plastic at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Motion.
I will make that motion.
Motion by Kristen, second by Dan, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. The rest are relatively minor. The town will eventually make a decision for the .gov website. You may have started to see that, like I've seen it from the county and a few other places where, there's really been an understanding that various municipal levels of government should change from .com, maybe somewhere to .org and go to .gov. That will involve some work for me. That'll be on the website side, but it really will be somewhat minor. It probably makes more sense if you want to call it that. I did attend, I'll just talk about it really quickly, a tariff impact webinar, which was really good. There's some manufacturing excellence program and an actual reshoring institute. Seems like it's a trade association for everything. And I've condensed the notes from that down to something that I was able to send out to all of our supported businesses, mainly focusing on what kind of plans are companies using during the kind of upheaval, if you will, from the tariff. And there were 7 or 8 different strategies, as well as kind of the modeling of alternative strategies, which again aren't all that mind blowing, whether it's reshoring, whether it's finding some other alternatives and so on. But hopefully that will be a benefit. That I thought it was a good 45-minute webinar. So if anybody wants those notes, you can share supported businesses. I did in the past month file a municipal grant program specifically for parks with the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historical Preservation. We'll see. That had to be in by like, I forget, earlier in May, but not sure what the timeline is. It was weird because you use the CFA, and yet the CFA doesn't really open for everybody else until I think earlier in June. So, and then I did attend the historic post office ribbon cutting in the city. There was, obviously Empire State Development provided the downtown revitalization grant, but I don't know if I would say the governor had a representative. Secretary of State was there, and I have a feeling, I don't know, I should know this, Empire State maybe falls under the Secretary of State, hence his attendance, because he really didn't speak on behalf of her. But nice project. I haven't seen it, but at the event itself, they talked about at Iskolo that they had 2 additional office tenants. They just didn't want to kind of reveal that at the time. So I'll keep an eye out for that just to let you know, because otherwise it's strictly just the Greg Lewis Foundation that's in it. So, and then the other thing I put in your packet is kind of a 2-part initiative. One from EDC is a summary of the state budget that passed a few weeks back. I would say the summary is, from a financial perspective, with one minor exception, it's all positive. And from a negative policy and procedures, it was positive, with one exception that isn't included in the budget. And I'll just say really quickly, if you look at that, there's new allocation for the FAST program. There's new allocation for the new Power Up program. If you look at Excelsior tax credits, you can get them for manufacturing, but you can also get them for green energy, or, believe it or not, daycares. They've now added a separate sort of subcategory of supply chain companies, semiconductor industry. And then there's maybe only of general interest for you, $400 million to revitalize downtown Albany. I may have mentioned to you, but you go there on a regular basis, you really be shocked. Not even sure $400 million will carry the day. But anyway, there's at least a recognition downtown Albany is in rough shape. The real surprise, and I just maybe didn't have it on my radar screen, is I think most of you are aware that during COVID, New York State, and probably weren't alone, chose to dramatically increase and extend unemployment insurance to individuals that couldn't work as a result of decisions around COVID. The point is that money was really borrowed from the federal government, and the majority of states paid that back, probably through ARPA funds and everything. New York's decision was, well, the heck with that, we'll just increase employers' unemployment insurance payments, and that's been going on for how long, Kristen? Maybe a year or so. There's been kind of I'll say, surcharge to help eat away at that debt. Well, anyway, in this budget, there's $6 billion to pay off that unemployment insurance debt. So that is a win for businesses. Not that they maybe budgeted for it, but they definitely were being charged that increased unemployment insurance. And then lastly, in the short term, the good news was that the efforts to try and expand the prevailing wage related to projects like ours wasn't included. But the bad news is, and that's why I gave you this, there is a fair amount of energy behind expanding that initiative, everything from taking it, the percentage down to how much public money and also taking down the total project size that would trigger the prevailing wages, if you will. So you'll see on here an initiative, we can send your logo in to show you what we have. Unfortunately, it does have a fair amount of support. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised by that. I reached out to, let's see, both Paul Bologna and then the judge and Lewiston. And interesting enough, maybe somewhat of benefit, they both sit on the Assembly Economic Development Committee. So they're not just out there in this case as, minority legislator, minority member on the Economic Development. So we'll see, I'm sure I'll hear more about it next week, but when you look through which legislators have already kind of signed on to it, it's a kind of daunting number, so we'll let you know. So for the most part, the budget was a positive, but that, kind of increasing the prevailing wage triggers is still out there, if you will. So that's not. Any questions on that?
All right, thank you, Tom.
Yep.
All right, move on to attorney's report.
I don't have anything to return.
Any other business? Any new business?